Welcome to Context Matters. The date is May 16th, Janet Jackson birthday. Big up yourself, Janet Jackson, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Um, we are going to be talking about issues or matters concerning the jury. Thanks for joining. I want to start by saying blessings to all who join. You are the only ones who can let me know if you are hearing me. If you are hearing me, let me know, Roger, that. Big up to everybody. Great evening, Missy Bram Bram. I see you, Audrey Crook. I see you, Faye White, K Sue. Hola, que pasa? Tashane Vernal over on TikTok, loud and clear. Mika says that one Spain, big up yourself, official, Miss British, good evening. I want to say welcome again to Context Matters. This program is really geared at, you notice I saying a lot. I'm choosing my words carefully. Reggae Global Radio. The thoughts, opinions, actions of the host is not necessarily the views of Reggae Global Radio. Let me start right there. But most importantly, we want to talk about the court of public opinion. That's you guys, as well as definitely to speak more on the right to trial by jury duty, the importance of jury duty, tying it into the court of public opinion, because never before in the history of Jamaica has it been so important that the thoughts, opinions, conduct, actions of persons, citizens, the public at large has to be important per se. So today is one of the days where it's so important that you listen, because I'm also going to say never before in the history of Jamaica has the opposition and the ruling party have been at odds the way they have. If one say lime, the next one say orange, even though it should have been Flow or Digicel, don't? Or Wendy's and Burger King, because KFC stands by itself. But anyway, never before has that happened in the way where the differences are so profound. For instance, there's one party that understands the Constitution and the other party that simply doesn't, respectfully. And the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the missteps that has been taken by this government when it comes to anything concerning the Constitution. And it's one thing to get your friends to do away with the people who criticize you for messing with the Constitution, but that's nepotism at its best. Fear not thyself, because the Constitution reigns supreme. And while people can say that the Constitution, how they feel about the Constitution and how we need a new Constitution and the way we go about getting a new Constitution and all the things that come with it, this is a moment, or we are at a moment in our history. Let me put it that much, at a time or a point in our history, in our lives, where we have to take charge of our what I'd say, our country, that is Jamaica. There's something happening now in the Jamaican space that is of utmost importance, and we should ensure that as we march into the new phase of Jamaica, that we are not left behind. What is the role of the Jamaican people when it comes to making decisions as it relates to our constitution? You are the judges. The judges, you are responsible for judging the best way forward for your life. And in circumstances, the people that you put in power, where it is that you are not able to judge, ensure that the people who are in power are the ones who are competent to make the decisions for you. It's as simple. It's as simple as that. That I don't think that I could take it any higher in relation to thinking about that or talking about that. So I want your thoughts on it as well. When we start to process or think about this. Good. So as I said, the date is May 16. And I know it's Janet Jackson's birthday because me love her. No, that's the way love goes. Hey, that's the way love goes. Anyway, yeah, so context matters. That's what we're dealing with.
That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. You know I heard them say, life much better you live it your own way.
Yes, so my people, let's start off by talking about what I find to be for me, these things are jokey thing, and people, bear with me. I see in the comments, a true say you love Janet. Oh. They laughing because I love Janet Jackson. Let me tell you something. If me not hear me. I love my age. I'm proud of my age. But Janet Jackson, boy, may I tell you, Janet Jackson is. If you wasn't loving Janet Jackson, something did wrong with you. That's simple. She was Miss Jackson if you're nasty. Let's wait a while. When she said, let's wait a while when you grow up, you said, let me just put you the tip. But anyway, you get the point. Janet Jackson. Anyway, moving on from that. So the case I want to start with, and let me put it in context. You people don't need to be able to self. The opposition, Marky G, that's what I'm calling him, the man with the two passports, or the Jamaican passports and the UK passport, which the Constitution allows if you are a citizen of the Commonwealth or the United Kingdom, then the whole thing about dual citizenship does not apply. Even Canada, it does not apply. There's thing about we're gonna address it because it matches it touches and concerns the diaspora, and the diaspora, I must tell you, is my people, the dirty 350 and counting, or is it 380? Since 350 were at the protest in New York, it'll be just the dirty 380. Yeah, it all of this comes together. Somebody said I love Miss Otis too. Yeah, I do, because she has a whole lot of construction. I love Oprah too because she got a whole lot of money. But anyway, put it in context. Janet is the real deal. Again, y'all really distracting me now. My ADD is really kicking in today. I just must make y'all know that. So you have the opposition is serious about this. What they are saying is, listen, we're gonna do a new constitution. We're doing serious constitutional reform. We want to do away with the monarchy. We want to have our own president, where we want to have our own people, and we want to remove and strip away our colonizers completely. The we that we're making reference to is obviously the Jamaican people. So the question is this what the Jamaican people want? And how do we find out what the Jamaican people want? Where is the consensus? How do we identify the persons, the people? Where do we get How do we come to an understanding that what is being proposed is what the Jamaica want? Well, they had I'm gonna say this respectfully, a whole bunch of uptown people, the elite of Jamaica, was put on a panel, and they call themselves the Constitutional Reform Committee. What I can tell you is some of the most competent legal minds are on that committee. Not all of them, but some of them are there. And the ones who are there is sufficiently competent to carry out their duties and their functions. Well, the government of Jamaica decides that they're going to do what they're called phasing. So they have phase one, phase two, phase three. So I must say Portmore. But me no know. Them I do it like how them do Portmore. Phase one, phase two, phase three. all phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. Them a phase out everything because them phasey, right? And Marky G says, listen, Donna Scott Motley, who will be the Minister of Justice in the next government, and Hilton, they should not sign off unless there is a firm position on the CCJ. Well, as you know, in about 2004, 2005, I only can tell you what I know about that time because I wasn't in Jamaica at that time. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, during that time on the PNP administration, when they were the government, they had three bills that they proposed because at the time millions of dollars was spent in the CCJ, and they decided that they wanted to go to the CCJ. So make no mistake, when the People's National Party wanted to leave the Privy Council and go to the CCJ and head towards a republic, the Jamaica Labour Party, they frustrated the process. Now, using the word frustrate, not in a negative way, but that's what the opposition is supposed to do. They're supposed to make sure that when you do, they are on one. They are on. I don't want to stop just because. They are still, everybody's on Janet, so Janet is more important than the seminal issues in Jamaica. Why did I speak of Janet? Because today is our birthday. Control. Now I'm all grown up. Anyway, and so what they proposed to do was to, obviously, the three legislation, and there was this thing about entrenchments and amendments. So what came from that was this: a case called the Independent Jamaica Council for Human Rights and others against, I guess her name was Serena Marshall Burnett, and it went all the way to the Privy Council. What is important to know is that, yeah, this was Jamaica's attempt under the People's National Party to go to the Caribbean Court of Justice. There was some things about, so the act was the 2004 act. Like I say, a long 20 years ago, me I telling about now, just giving it the irony. And so you had the Caribbean Court of Justice Act 2004, Act 21 of 2004, and the Appellate Judicata Amendment Act 2004, and another one. It was set to abolish the Jamaica Privy Council as a final appellate court and replace the Jamaican Privy Council with the CCJ. To implement in the Jamaican law, the international agreement established the CCJ, and then substituting the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, right of appeal to the Jamaica Privy Council in the criminal matters with the right of appeal to the CCJ. So the parliamentary procedures used to adopt the bill faced legal action in the Jamaican Supreme Court while the bills were still going through Parliament. And the Supreme Court dismissed the challenge, and then it went to the Court of Appeal, and they heard it, and it was like, no. And then they went to the Privy Council, and the government said, all right, we're not going to pass a bill or put it into force until the proceedings in the Privy Council ended. Well, the procedural issues that arose, when you can ask me questions if you need, only Capitan and Sizzler of any authority. Capitan and Sizzler have authorized this. But I'm not even going to talk about that. I'm going to leave the Fireburn thing not on this show. Leave it to the bloggers. They know what happened. So anyway, the procedural issues at the outset, the Privy Council cautioned, and this is the caution that the Privy Council gave, that it was a question of whether the procedural means set out in the Constitution based, whether those procedures had been followed or had been met when the three bills were passed. Specifically, at issue were the entrenched and deeply entrenched provisions of the Constitution and the appropriate methods to amend those provisions. So there's a big conversation about entrenchment and all of that, right? So entrenched clauses were found in section 110 of the Constitution. So I always tell you now, having the Constitution, especially the 2011 amendment, all those things would be found in that part 3. So right in there, section 110 of the Constitution, it provides a right for of appeal to the Privy Council. And the first bill, which was the CCJ Constitutional Amendment Act 2004, altered section 110. But then you have section 49. So you see the Constitution, I'll tell you, is the done of all dons. Let's suppose I tell you, say, although the Constitution is a done of all dons, I'm fully of the view that the Constitution is a female. And not only that, she's a female, she's a jealous mistress. So the law is a jealous mistress. So when you hear terms like fornicating with the law and the method of which you fornicate with the Constitution, and then persons who take on a certain way in terms of how they rush in light of the charter being young. And I'm going to use the last time I used the words to express myself, proper English language, knowing that if I were a goodly gentleman in England using the English language, persons would understand the literary methods. But because I'm in Jamaica, those of lowly minds can only interpret it one way. But we do understand that. So I'm going to proceed with caution so as not to upset those who certainly don't have the aptitude to appreciate language. Let me put it that way. So in terms of entrenched clauses now, section 49 definitely says in general, it sets out the entrenched and deeply entrenched provisions of the Constitution. Section 49, 3 and 4 specifically sets out how deeply entrenched provisions can be amended, including through a referendum after amending legislations have been approved by 2/3 of members of each house. So to amend the entrenched provisions of the Constitution, Section 49.2 requires the same procedure for the deeply entrenched provisions, except that there would be no need for a referendum. So the other provisions of the Constitution are also subject to amendment by a majority vote by members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. But there are also safeguards in Section 54.1 from amending those provisions. So there, the Constitution already knows, say, you have some real wicked kind of people, just by virtue of humanity, will be in place. So the drafters already set the Constitution to protect itself against wickedness. So those safeguards are found in Section 54.1 from the amendment of those provisions. So the Jamaica Supreme Court, which has been in operation since 1880, obviously it is going to be entrenched, right? And then you had that is entrenched, and then obviously the Constitution also has the Court of Appeal entrenched. However, the Privy Council is not entrenched at all, right? As is set out in Section 110, it is not entrenched, and it only requires a majority vote in Parliament, if need be, to repeal it. So if that had been the case, then the entrenched Court of Appeal could constitute the supreme judicial authority, given that its constitutional position is buttressed by safeguards. So, and the safeguards which are designed to guarantee independence. So the appellants in the case argued that creation of the CCJ would not enjoy the entrenched provisions of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. Furthermore, they submitted that the Parliament procedural followed was not that mandated by the Constitution for amendment of the entrenched provisions, and it would make a mockery of the Constitution if the safeguards entrenched to ensure the integrity of legal processes in Jamaica could circumvent by creating a superior court enjoying no such constitutional protection. So for the appellants, what mattered was the substance of the law and not the form. And therefore, the three bills impliedly alter entrenched provisions of the Constitution and then did not follow the constitutional procedures. So you realize that the other day they did some made some umpy behavior last year this time and made an attempt to amend the Constitution, and they rush it. And you know that justice rushed is justice crushed. And once again, the People's National Party had to go into action real quick, make a lawsuit, and the Court of Appeal say, stop, hold your horses. And people was like, snap, void, as if they never existed anymore, right? Because the Constitution has mechanisms. Mature consideration is one of the mechanisms that is necessary. Hello, big up yourself, Brand Jamaica. Blessed one, big up yourself. Candice, blessings, I see you. Same thing, Loris. Everybody on Reggae Global Radio, on a big up on yourself. I hope I'm not going too fast and not seeing the questions, because I'm really enjoying trying to explain this aspect to you, because the Constitution is what matters right now. And showing you the Constitution is so complicated. One wonders if the people who are the judges and who is responsible for the futures and any decisions made in terms of how we move forward in the coming time is going to affect the generations to come. So all the people who hope for a better Jamaica may never get a better Jamaica if those in power now mess it up. That's what I'm going to say. So if you don't do it right, it's going to be a fight, because it never done right. Yeah? So yeah, anyway, moving forward, I want you guys to appreciate something, because I'm talking about this now and bringing to the forefront the importance of you to be the judge, you to be the court of public opinion, you to be responsible for a referendum should it ever get there, you to be the persons that take control of your life by understanding the Constitution. Because I was so shocked when I was today years old, when the Minister of Constitutional Affairs stood up in her cabinet press conference and say, listen, the issue of whether we should go to the CCJ or remain with the Privy Council is up in the air in light of Vibes Cartel and his successful appeal at the Privy Council, where justice was done at the Privy Council. It is your Minister of Constitutional Affairs says, well, one wonders if we can just now get up and say we're just going to go to the CCJ like that after the Jamaican people now realize that there is justice up at the Privy Council and there is access to the Privy Council. And there are several changes. But then there is the amendments made by Lord Reid, the president of the Privy Council, where they're saying that the appeal must be of merit. And your justice minister can't really talk about him, but him say, much ado about nothing, because obviously didn't read the legislation. And the effects of it on the Constitution, because anybody, any judge, no matter where you're there, you can get over Deso up at the big top apex court, or you can get anywhere you want there. When it comes to the Constitution, if you derive any power at all from the Constitution and you disrespect it, you forget disrespect. Simple. You're a creature of the Constitution. So if you're into Disney movies and one of the titles is Beauty and Beast, beast means creature. So if you're a creature of the Constitution, nothing no pretty about you. You have to take the part of the title that says beast. Beauty and the Beast. Beast means creature. So the creatures of the Constitution, including members of the Privy Council, are creatures of the Constitution because they derive their power from there. Their judicial authority comes from Section 110, whether or not it is deeply entrenched. It's not entrenched, but it makes provisions for us to go there. And if the Constitution gives it that, it's subject to, because we have constitutional supremacy. The UK has parliamentary supremacy, but Jamaica has constitutional supremacy. Anyway, so the decision of the Privy Council, and rightly so, is this. Because they respect the Constitution. That's the irony of it. And no matter how they teach, they beat and teach, and they say, this is how it's done, people still can't get it right. So me just have to sit with myself and really wonder. Right now, I talk strong, so a lot of people may very well be offended. But I promise you, I not cuss no bad word. I just talk strong, and the truth is of very, very offensive weapon. Anyway, the decision. The Privy Council held that the Jamaican Constitution was sovereign. So I'm taking that was and turn it into is sovereign, and the three bills were invalid under the Constitution. So you see, when you're doing your thing and you get up because he's a government minister and he's a senator and he's a creature of the Constitution, and because you get a little money and the money enough, you feel say you're better than people because you make taxpayers' money, make you look like you boot no lean because you're in a power and them little things that you feel say you're right and you feel say you're like you're better than the Jamaican people. No, you're not. The Constitution, if you're a little creature of the Constitution, know thy place. Don't disrespect the Constitution and treat it like how Christians treat the Bible and the Muslims treat the Quran and the Jews treat the Torah. Treat it with its sacredness and the respect that should come with it. So the Privy Council began its analysis by agreeing with the Caripa and Wejin Privy Council decision 1968, and the words amend or repeal also by implication meant alter. So the Jamaican Constitution case, if you're interested in it, is the Serena Marshall case, Burnett case. It's the that was at paragraph 19. It then turned to the question of whether the proper constitutional procedures were followed or if the CCJ agreement was different. If different, then the Privy Council reasons then the effect of the legislation is to alter within the all-embracing definition in section 49, 9b. And an important function of a constitution is to give protection against government misbehavior. You hear the words they use? Government misbehavior. When pick the misbehavior, put them in a corner, you put on who done, you put on Dunce cap. And who forget beat, you say, turn round, there you go. Beat them. So it go, beat and teach. And then they went off to say, and the three acts give rise to a risk which did not exist in the same way before. So according to the Privy Council, the test to determine whether the three bills followed the correct constitutional procedures was a matter of substance. Now let's stop there. People, if it is that the CCJ is going to become our final court, we're doing over a full constitution and we the people haven't seen the document yet. Are the people who are doing this document, are they considering that? Clearly no, because Marky G said, we will not make any move to turn the CCJ into the final court. And pop, if you want to become a republic because your argument is you're stripping yourself from your colonial past, then the removal of the Privy Council to the CCJ would also be a necessary justification for whatever you're doing. Otherwise, it's completely ceremonial and unbeneficial to the Jamaican people. And it is an achievement that is only the achievement of the government of the day and has no significance or value to the Jamaican people if a decision isn't made to cut ties, cut the umbilical cord. But more than that, it's beyond cutting the umbilical cord. It's like when you turn 18 and your mama say, go on, go live where you for live, and kick you out of the house and you really not get back a key. And you not even the fridge you can get little water out of. Some people experience that. Some of us, we still live with our mother in our mother house. Big up, princess. anyway, you do get the idea. That is of utmost importance. So let's stop right there. What we do learn from this is the Privy Council was well aware and they said, listen, the Privy Council has no entrenchment. It's not deeply entrenched. It's not entrenched. It's a simple fix. The anomaly we face from that case was if they remove the Privy Council, what's left is a Court of Appeal. So Jamaica would in fact have Jamaica Court of Appeal as their final Court of Appeal because it is deeply entrenched in terms of the type of protection. The problem that we're facing with the CCJ is that it is a political institution in that it was created by the Caribbean at large. The members of the CCJ who sit as judges, erudite, the brightest minds. I would probably listen, man, the brightest minds of the Caribbean. If you want, see Black excellence go to the CCJ. Having the privilege of being at the CCJ and seeing how they reason in a particular case, and that's it. As a lawyer, you must one of some of the achievements in terms of advocacy must you must be able to go to the CCJ and the Privy Council and be able to also then say to your peers and to the world at large that when it comes what's at the CCJ is not a myth. This isn't Plato's cave. You can't take your knowledge of what goes on at the CCJ for somebody who has never appeared at the CCJ or who doesn't understand the workings of the CCJ or the legal minds of the CCJ. The majority members of the CCJ were educated. They went to an actual university that actually taught them something. So this I don't know. This I don't know anywhere we give a doctorate anywhere. This is the University of the West Indies, where when it comes to law and the brilliance of the Caribbean, from Cave Hill, yeah, to St. Augustine to Mona Law, you're talking about black excellence and brilliance when it comes to understanding the Constitution, understanding rights, understanding your socio-economical, ecological, and geographical positioning within the world at large. So when you see a prime minister who is she now president, the prime minister of Barbados, the probably the brightest female lawyer slash president, prime minister, leader in probably the brightest leader in the whole of the Commonwealth. I mean, I know, I'm just a say. Because Guyana have them people were bright too. Everybody bright. Marky G bright. Andrew have doctorate now. Him bright too, because him get a doctorate. I tell you already, say, ooh, when me ready for my doctorate, I'm going to just look at work on one of the bus them. And as a big conductor, I just ask the Jamaican people them for shorten it and just call me Dr. Isat. Dr. Isat. And we're good. So if you know work for your doctorate, you're a doctor. But for those who work, like my mother, who has a doctorate in, a real doctor of letters and theology, Dr. Reverend Dr. Joan Porteous, who has it on merit and defended her thesis, that's a doctor. But if you want to be like me and you want to be like Dr. What's your name? Somebody help me with her name. What's your name again? Dr. The woman, man. The woman will always give people things. Somebody help me now. What's somebody help me with her name now? Dr. Donna. Dr. Donna and Dr. Berries and Dr. Andrew. On the big up on yourself. Because when me ready for mine, if me not go get it and read and pressure my book like Bounty Killer said, book. When the pressure on the book, I'm not pressure my book, I just go get my doctor and look at work on a coaster bus. Steps. So anyway, we're going to big up all of the doctor them. Because them and the Prime Minister are the same category. Anywhere, Delaware. I saw it go. Anyway, y'all stop drawing me out. Leave me alone. Anyway, so the substance of the case is this. The test is not whether the protection provided by the CCJ agreement is stronger or weaker than that which existed before, but whether in substance it is different. For if it is different, the effect of the legislation is to alter within the all-embracing definition in section 49.9b. May I give you the sections, so play it back and read it. So the board, being the Privy Council, is driven to conclude that the three acts taken together do have the effect of undermining the protection given to the people of Jamaica by entrenched provisions of the Chapter 7 of the Constitution. Now, it should at once be pointed out that the Privy Council stated that the Jamaican people could, hear me, the Jamaican people could abolish appeals to Her Majesty in Council, as they are fully entitled to take appropriate steps to bring its role to an end, providing that the appropriate constitutional processes and procedures for amendments are followed, and the ruling can be characterized as a victory for constitutional sovereignty. You know that. You know that's. You know that's where I'm at. Anything that protects the Constitution and demonstrates that is the done of all done. Anything that can make your Minister of Constitutional Affairs the most honorable Marlene Malahu Fort, yeah, say that if the Privy Council can overturn Vibes Cartel conviction and have the Jamaican people confidence in the justice system restored, then the argument about removing yourself from the Privy Council is a difficult one to make at this time. And listen, this is breaking news, people. She is 100% right. Who would I ever think in my lifetime would I agree with the Minister of Constitutional Affairs? Lord in heaven. But yeah, every now and then, I say God harden the heart of fear and make him drown. So sometimes them harden the heart of people and them have to speak the truth. And when you speak the truth, people have to agree with you. What can I say? No. It also means then that the ruling can be characterized, as I said, as a victory for constitutional sovereignty. And when measured against the Westminster model of parliament sovereignty, um, it in the sense what the ruling did was to put a dent into the limits of the lawmaking powers of the Jamaican Parliament as a democratically elected body. Moreover, the ruling was just one in a long line of judgment that displayed the rocky relationship that the sovereign countries have with the Privy Council, who still enjoy a right of appeal. Now, that is one thing, but do you think you need to know the difference between parliamentary sovereignty and constitutional sovereignty? Well, let me break it down for you. Disney has a show, Purple as the Sun, Beauty and the Beast. Well, beauty is the people, and your government officials are the beast. The creatures of the Constitution are the beast, and that's not a bad thing, you know. If you watch the story, this was a white woman that her father did have a giveaway, and she fall in love with the beast, but she never knew him was actually beautiful. So sometimes on the outside, somebody can be very beastly, but they're very, very, very they can be beautiful on the inside. Why am I raising that? Well, there is a real thing that goes on in this life, you see. And let me tell you something in terms of this very thing that I'm talking about. You see, in life, you'll tend to find sometime that you're never gonna know. Believe me when I tell you this, you will never know. And look for yourself on the screen that sometimes the goodness of some people is just for show. Well, sometimes people can be ugly on the inside, but on the outside, but inside they're beautiful. It's the same way beautiful people can be so disgusting and ugly on the inside. So when people speak of beauty, we must appreciate that there must be a spiritual beautification, beauty from within. People must understand that, and I'm sharing that because I want people to have a full appreciation so that they're not confused by niceties and ulterior motives and be misguided by personal accomplishments that people want to achieve that has no benefit to the people. I want people to remember that. Yes. So when it comes to parliamentary sovereignty in West with the Westminster model in the UK, if something them have a constitution, it's not written. So when they're there, they make it up as they go. So the parliament say, yeah, the people them doing that, we don't like it. Let's change it. And it's changed. And the people say, oh, it's changed. That's why the whole sky over there is so gray. Gray skies always. Because the power is with the people who you vote for. In Jamaica, the power resides in the Constitution. It's like this is the Constitution, and the power is within the ball. The Constitution is like an orange globe. It's not green, it's orange. The rights of the people are protected and insulated in an orange capsule. And those beasts who arrive their power try to always change the color and want to make it green, but they don't know how to do it. And so they always get themselves embarrassed and they say, lock them all down. And the Constitution says, no, you can't. The Constitution, the Privy Council says, conviction is quashed, send it back. And then the people are in no man's land. There's no law that the parliament, the local parliament, had contemplated. Because when they do law, their mission is to send you to prison and never let you out because they don't believe in rehabilitation. So nothing in law is set for situations where justice is served at the apex court because they say everybody broke a ton of money and will never go there. It's like you have people in Westmoreland that say, one day I want to go a sovereign in a Jamaica, me hear about it. And some of them just never get on the bus and never go and see for themselves that sovereign is just a place with KFC downstairs in the basement. And everything else can go. But I mean, don't take. Jody say you're bright. Jody's like, you're bright. We don't need for God no sovereign because we have few place. Move yourself. Candid expressions. Anyway. So the third and final issue that can be raised is parliamentary sovereignty versus constitutional sovereignty. Although Jamaica adopted the Westminster model of parliament, there is one noticeable departure. The UK enjoys parliamentary sovereignty, where parliament is the supreme lawmaker, and Jamaica enjoys constitutional sovereignty. And this is a point that the ruling acknowledges. And I want the people to understand that is the constitution that rule, not parliament. Parliament is a whole bunch of creatures who have the opportunity to serve you, who now get paid a whole lot of money, so they have no excuse to look wishy-washy because we're paying them to dress properly, cut them hair, smell properly, bathe. If them teeth want fix it. If them need for lose weight, lose it. If them need for put in the weave, but you can't show up when you're collecting the money and looking riff-raff and looking like you need to retire. And those who need to retire needs to retire. And so I reject the argument by the young Minister Charles, who is saying we should increase the retirement age and people must work till them dead, simply because they're the ones who made life hard, even though everybody's screaming prosperity, and now nobody don't want dugu. We must think about those things. But anyway, follow-up. Let's talk about the follow-up. At present, Jamaica, like much of the English-speaking Caribbean Commonwealth nations, has two constitutional courts. They have the CCJ and they have the Privy Council. How do we know that? There was a girl who, tell you, Jamaican woman have it. Them have what's known as je ne sais quoi. Them have oomph. If you think about Jada and you think about Lisa Hannah and you think about Shensia, I can call everybody name, Keisha. I can call everybody name, but I'm not gonna really call everybody name. All of the woman name in Jamaica, nice. Nicer than the woman name in well, except for Rihanna. Yeah. And Barbados don't come for me, but Jamaican woman, nice. So obviously when Jamaican woman pulls up in any island, anywhere in the world, right upon them chest, it said, take people, man. Yeah. And that I will go on. So Serena, what's your name? Shanique Myrino just decides that she'll go over Barbados. Shanique, I don't know your business. I'm just saying because you look good. The way you look good, you make me half a ball out. You look like you're born with gold spoon in your mouth. And you go over there and you just look like you did not go over Barbados to protect the people there, man. And so them just say, hey, go in there, so. And them violate you. And you say, whoa, murder, police. And you say, you can't do me that. and then the CCJ came to Jamaica in its original jurisdiction, and then when them come, Serena gets her money from the CCJ. It was a constitutional breach and a violation that touched and concerned freedom of movements and whatever within the Caribbean and all of that, and the detention and all of that. And she was compensated through competent court, the CCJ. What we need to know is um with the integration, maybe it is that for a while we accede to the jurisdiction of both courts. Is that practical? Should we consider having, I was speaking to a very intelligent attorney. I don't have permission to say his name, so I won't say it. But the idea that Jamaica may very well have to, in light of how the constitution is set up, and there might still remain some complications in just removing the Privy Council and adding the CCJ. I don't know. Um, I have put some thought to it, but I am not being paid to give my opinion, so I'm not going to give it. But to say that may very well be that for the time being, in anything, whether it be phase one, phase two, phase three, that Jamaica decides that they have a 9-panel appellate system where they are allowed to pull from the Caribbean 4 judges, and they have 5 apex judges, and we just have our Supreme Court like the United States Supreme Court. And for those people who don't like retire, you just keep the judge them, the people them when they don't want to retire because they don't have a life. Get them kind of people and put them up there and make them stay up there till them dead and rotten like the American Supreme Court. Them just stay up there and them just dead, and them all when them yeah can't lock them there on it and them a vote, and then you hear dead, and then the whoever the president is put in who them want. That's probably what we need. I'm just putting it out there. But until then, the question now, some people might be mad. Should we have a referendum about the Privy Council? And if we put it to a referendum, which only need to know, we don't have to put it to a referendum. I want the people of Jamaica to know that the Privy Council is not entrenched at all. It's not entrenched. And so what people have to understand is if it's not entrenched, it does not require a referendum. That is what Marky G said. You can do it in phase one because there's no need for a referendum. But the true question is because there's not much public consultation and discussions, the people who represent you are not talking to you, so they don't know what you want. Because what if all of Jamaica now realize, hey, make them all go tell me, say, I me kill my wife, and them are allowed, and then the court of public opinion decide for mark up pan with the paper name, cartridge paper and marker, all who can read and write, and I'll turn the sign them upside down. I say people not forget bail, and then lo and behold, they don't get bail. But if I were a judge, I wouldn't give the person bail either, because if there's a whole mob outside saying you mustn't get bail, when I give bail and them kill you, isn't that on me? So Jamaica is not a real place, So the public at large makes it very difficult, and it transitions into where I want to go in the next hour, where the public is now making it very difficult for people to access fair trial in the Jamaican space. We don't have the pleasure of having 50 states like a country like America, where what happens in Tennessee stays in Tennessee, and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but what happens in Florida, every like there, Jamaica, we don't have that luxury. What happens in Kingston and the KSAC goes to the court because the other people still vex them lose it, and then everybody hear it. And then when the government don't like, say you in a particular parish, the water lock off forever and ever, and then the murder rate is down, but every day so many people die, and then school children dying and security guards die, and the young children have to find the security guard dead on the compound and be totally suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from the experience of seeing traumatic issues, and there's no counseling that can set them right again, and these people are fragile and all the things that happen. Because Jamaica is a high crime society. Of course, we're gonna find ways, i.e., TikTok, to make sure that we're okay when you are a lawyer and they just burn down your office because you're probably working on some cases that's really good, and you just have to get up and pick up the pieces and keep your head up because things are going to get easier. Oh child, things will be brighter. Of course these things happen, and then you're expected to still have a robe, still have a tab, still present, still do everything, and then people behave like you're a computer. So of course, and this is 2024, of course, if you're a lawyer and you're a competent lawyer, you back everything up electronically. But then you can't tell people that, because then they might have the ability to go into the cloud and try to erase your stuff. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, so with those things happening all in different spaces, one has to wonder naturally, where do we fall and what is the responsibility of the people? Because the court of public opinion has so much power to sway that the court of public opinion has caused the Minister of Constitutional Affairs to say the Vibes Cartel trial is the reason why Jamaicans now love the Privy Council. One trial, one case, one appeal. 64 days, taxpayers' money, owed, gambling, facilitating criminal activity to reach a verdict by a public official, a breach of Canon F. Yeah, all of these things in Jamaica. But justice, and the law is a jealous mistress. Justice is blind, and the guardians of the Constitution, the custos morum of the Constitution, are the judges. So the beauty of the Constitution is that the doctrine of separation of power has caused Jamaica to be protected from the villains that walk around the executive and the parliament. Yes, villainize them, because if you don't like them, you're going to say the whole of them are wicked. And you have the freedom of speech and expression to say that. How else are you going to make Jamaica great again if you're not grabbing the orange ball? I know y'all thought I was going to say something with P, but no. Anyway, so these are things to consider. So in conclusion about the Constitution, the Constitutional Committee and the executive, who said for Jesus Christ sign the damn document. I don't know how Jesus Christ and damn come in the same thing, and forcing people so they can sound like the preacher. I was forced to it. I didn't do it wigglingly. Them want Donald Scott Motley, the Honorable Justice Senator, to say, I didn't do it wigglingly. But Mark says, listen, no, we're going to do it right because it affects us forever and ever and ever. If someone were to ask, and I tell you again without any apology, my personal opinion is that I certainly this year is for the Privy Council. I take a lot of issue with the amendments made since I've appeared at the Privy Council, where we have not, through our Justice Minister and through proper public consultation, had any involvement in the issue of merit. Then can rush when they want them friends stay, but when it comes to something that affects the people and the interest, they did nothing to secure and protect the integrity and authenticity and worth of the Constitution. So let's say, for instance, it has been approved by Lord Reid and by the Parliament in the UK to allow judges from Jamaica to now sit on the Privy Council. Is that a good thing? Let me tell you this now. If Justice MacDonald Bishop were to sit on the Privy Council would be strengthened by one of the most brilliant minds out of the Caribbean. I'm not beg no friend, I'm just tell you no. So I can tell you, me know one black woman when know the law more than all who say them white and bright and everything else. It's just my opinion though, and we're talking about Caribbean constitutional law where he who feels it knows it, he who sits in the jurisdiction, and appreciation that when the Privy Council gave respect, they said we don't know it and we don't want to make the wrong decision, so we send it back to those who are bright. So if those who are bright, one of them were to ascend into the apex court to protect the constitution of Jamaica, it has to be something that is welcomed in a place where we have not made um where we have not made the transition to anything else. But make no mistake, people, Jamaica is blessed that if they do go to the CCJ, the minds who are there are competent. And if you were to stop and read some of just the decisions out of the CCJ, they talk about generous interpretation. They give life to the constitutions of the Caribbean that would make anybody jealous. You'd have wish you did live at some of these places when you see what they do. And that is something that I want Uno to appreciate and consider whenever that guy, you see that guy right there? That's an awesome guy. He's a lawyer. That guy right there is so awesome. Anyway, let me stop. Anyway, so I want you guys to appreciate that. And I'm going to if you have questions, we're now up on that break that I always take. Reggae Global Radio. You're tuned into Context Matters. It's all in life. You know how it go. If it ain't in the right context, yeah. Even though I saw my father on an interview say him not deal with nothing no conversation, no conspiracy, no nothing. So I say, yo, my father bought me out. Even though no context matters. But I'm putting what he said about cons, I'm putting it in context. He could never be talking about me. All right? So we do what
Right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
Yes, my people. So, again, one of the interesting things as well for me, uh, yeah, I would say one of the interesting things in my mind is the idea or concept of the right to trial by jury. So this is a serious thing. So I mean, I'm not in law school yet, but I'm at the university doing my degree. And yeah, I know you guys would have heard from the bloggers because the bloggers think they know everything. You guys would have heard from the bloggers that I got my law education in prison. That's not so. I too I'm UEK. I'm fully UEKated. Yeah, I went to the Faculty of Law, Mona, where some of I like to say this the brightest, most brilliant set of people were there. My brush with constitutional law was going into a course with Tracy Robinson. When you hear that woman, that lady speaks about the Constitution, you just fall in love with the Constitution. You just be like, I want to be a constitutional lawyer. And then you do another course with her, and it's human rights law, and you get exposed to the importance of protecting minority groups, because if they can beat on the minority, remember in the world at large we are the minority, you know. Don't ever forget that in the world at large we are the minority. That's a big deal. We are the minority. Jamaica is small. The few of us that exist in the land, we are small. And that minority is something to think about. So, as a minority in the world, our rights must be respected through the Human Rights Convention, the United Nations, the Human Rights Law. The courts of human rights can protect us if they want to invade us, if they want to enslave us. Again, if they want to mistreat us. Yeah? So we would have to go to the human rights courts because you hear on the health minister say, "Oh no, don't worry, the AstraZeneca not doing nothing. If it did, I got killed, you know, when it would have dead 3 months." And don't get me wrong. Let me put some context on it. You see, everybody get juke from time to time. Everybody, in foreign, when like if you in foreign you have Viagra, they don't tell you the side effects, they just tell you Viagra make it stand up, but then you hear them start to talk fast. But they make us cancer, make kill you. And they say, yes, yes, so don't be alarmed. We did what we was supposed to do. We saved 6 million lives were saved in COVID. 6 million. But Jamaica only have 3 million. And more than half of the population never take no vaccine. So the ones who take AstraZeneca is like, well, we're just dead, y'all. And I said, no, don't worry, you're not dead. Because if you did not get dead, you're not dead 3 months. We did not look for see if we not got dead and when you never dead. So I am your minister. I know all. And Dr. Dawes must shut up because him is a doctor. You see, I is a doctor of advertising. I would know. Yes, yes, that's me. The minister. I is with the AstraZeneca. And them give you and say COVID did not go on. So we're good. We're not got dead. That kind of thing. Anyway, so you have to be in a place where you understand what's going on. You make choices um, through mature consideration because somebody properly explained the situation to you. This is important. Yes? And for those things now, there is a history. It starts from the Magna Carta. I remember, law is for man, not man for law. The law is here to serve you. When you read the story of Moses, I tell people this all the time, and it is so important. Pharaoh ruled with a very heavy hand. And Pharaoh law is, listen, eye for eye, the same Moses law. But Pharaoh said, let me tell you something. Is if you murder somebody, we'll murder your back. And when you listen to Jamaicans, that's what them want. Them just want to hear say somebody dead and you did dead, and them say, kill him! Don't give him no appeal. We not do that. And then just say, so that's Pharaoh was like that. But Pharaoh didn't love Moses. So when Moses murder a boy, yeah, put 2 shots in him head top. Pharaoh said, but I can't kill Moses. Moses run away for 40 years. But he had his life, because if you have life, all possibilities are endless. And Moses came back. But you see, God is the author and orchestrated all of that. So when God come and said, let my people go, and all these things, it meant that people must act judiciously. And Pontius Pilate passed the buck when it came to the Jesus situation. And guess what? Why am I telling you all of this? Because in Jesus' days, and they were saying, in Jesus' name, amen. The people said, Lego Barabbas and take Jesus. The boy a fall when I want him. When I want him. That's the people, a jury of his fears. Same thing, Socrates, they said Socrates was telling them the truth and them never like it. A jury of his peers found him guilty. But the Magna Carta is where it started, where no matter how, whether people have sense or we don't have sense, a jury of your peers, that may be a different thing, because I would never think in my life that a jury of my peers, I could find them in a foreign country. A foreign country, you can't be my peers. Unless if me there Florida and me get in trouble, then I could just go a Broward County and say, you're going to the juicy beef and say, yo, trial a keep and one Rasta man in there. Go and go sit on him jury. That's my peers. Whether they like me or not. My peers are my people. But you don't just say, because I'm black, you find some black people and that's my peers. And certainly if I'm black and a white jury is adjudicating my matter, you're not my peers. But that being said, peers in Jamaica, out of many, one, people don't understand that you're saying. Is you're saying people don't understand what I'm saying? Gaza screech, are you saying I'm not speaking English? Do you not understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Is anybody confused? Talk to me because they're not understanding what I'm saying. Anyway, let's deal with this. So, what I did while in law school was to write a paper. See, that's my name on it. I don't know. See, my name is on it. Yeah. So the paper was called The Right to Trial by Jury. I wrote this paper because while I was at the university, Vibes Cartel was on trial. And then there was a lot of umpy scumpy going on in the about the jury. And there was a particular juror who was on the jury, and everybody trusted her because she was good at that, hiding her tail. If yeah, let's put it that way. And that jury had all the trust in the world. Anyway, what we do know is at the end of that trial, there was a corrupted juror who was allowed to sit by assistance of the court and the crown. He was allowed to continue. All of this I'm repeating because it's in the Privy Council ruling. So make no mistake, that matter has ended and is no more. So we can speak on it. It's not sub judice. And at that time, I wrote a post and I said, Cartel, thank you for your trial because you're the reason why I know how to free you. I literally said that. And I knew the jury point was important. So the key thing is that there is a socio-political background that people must understand when it comes to Jamaica. A socio political background. So it's a historical link between the political culture in Jamaica and the high levels of crime in certain communities. And we're talking about from in the 1960s to present day. And Jamaica and the formation of garrison constituencies as a political culture. The ambiguities in the law from Atlantic history, which is slavery, made the children of the enslaved in Jamaica acutely aware that legality is manipulated through economically and socially advantageous ways. Yes? Young males in gangs substantially help Jamaican politicians and political parties gain privilege and state power. It's a matter for you if you think it has ever changed. And then what happens next is garrison constituencies have been cited as a hotbed of violent and criminal activity. Historically, these communities originate from an epoch of intense political combativeness, ideological polarization, radicalization, and confrontation. And these were severe between the two parties. The same parties that are there now, Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Parties from in the 1970s. So this culminated into a 1980 general election marred by severe bloodshed. Young males of poor economic means converged and formed a common bond and alliance as part of that political culture. So political gangs became a functional part of the political process in securing election victories for the parties supporting and supported by them. So naturally, when there's conversation about which gang is being prosecuted and which gang is not being prosecuted, one must ask about political connections. So this developed in intimate connections with state power and garrison power. Arguably, the politicians that time planted the seeds and nurtured the growth of garrison communities. The power that these political gangs have acquired throughout the years seduces young males living under poor economic conditions in becoming members. They become directly involved in maintaining political borders. defending territories from neighboring rival territories, and consolidating political power. Of course, before long, these activities are not limited to acting in the interest of their political godfathers, but such power is used to secure their own interests. So, young males in gangs practice collective actions to achieve a specific purpose or purpose which generally includes the conduct of illegal activities and control over a particular garrison or constituency. The gangs subjugate young males that society has deemed as not worthy. Society love tell the young males them say them worthless. And then they are recruited and join gangs from the ranks of the gunmen or shutters that are immersed in street culture. But each gang may form its own idioculture or microculture within the broader milieu, right? So these criminal activities have continued to rise in frequency over the years. So there was a small survey as far back as 2010, and it noted that the increase of the incidences of homicide and robbery are 34 and 26% higher, respectively, in Jamaica than in countries with comparable macroeconomical issues. Um, So for 5 consecutive years. So in 2007, the arrest rate for murder declined to 34%, and the conviction rate stood at less than 10%, with most gang-related cases going unresolved. It is this seemingly uncontrollable rise in crime that have led many politicians to call for a more stringent approach to crime fighting. And it is in the midst of that call that they did the 2010 amendment, and it have dispensed with the need for unanimous verdicts, and they introduce majority verdicts, and they reduce the jury pool. Politicians are often met with the resistance when they wish to change the Jamaican culture of violence. Their corrupt counterparts continue to interfere with them and become an obstacle to reducing young males' participation into gangs and violence in Jamaica. Young males in gangs pose a contemporary challenge to the state sovereignty. Well, one of the challenges is that when Parliament is making changes in these kind of situations where they spark fear into people, and then they start to say, "Boy, we need to worry about this and we need to worry about that." We must not forget that the people must be able to challenge Parliament on the basis that members of the lower house have historically propped up and benefited from garrison politics, and as such, it is remiss of them in attempting to curb a problem they created by giving less protection to the average citizen. And it is from this perspective that the paper will investigate and analyze the jury system and evaluate all possible options. I already told you the historical context and said that it came from the whole thing about the Magna Carta. So in Magna Carta, and this is from the Norman Conquest, so in Magna Carta, it is more than once insisted on as the principal bulwark of our liberties. That's trial by jury. The article of Magna Carta that has been credited with establishing the right to a trial by jury is Article 39. See, my goodness, article, let me know. So whether one agrees with any of the three positions or takes some other view, what is common among the three positions is evident in some form of what a jury represents. So they let me go back. So a trial that has been used time out of mind in this nation and seems to have been coeval with the first civil government thereof. He adds that some authors have endeavored to trace the origin of juries up as high as the Britons themselves and the first inhabitants of our island, but certainly it is that they are in use among the earliest Saxon colonies. So whether you agree or not, what is of importance is knowing and understanding that it is in order to find the truth, you need a jury of your peers to do so. The jurors were called inquests, and which was an efficient way to collect information about the number of livestock in an area or identifying the owners. predating legislation where a case was tried by a jury that failed to reach a unanimous verdict, the judge had the power to step in to decide one way or the other as the 13th man. However, the necessity for unanimous verdict around 1367 was strongly affirmed by case law. It was not until the introduction of legislation that the idea of majority verdicts were allowed, and then in no time, Jamaica show up saying they want majority verdicts. The original idea of Parliament when the Gun Court Act, because gun court was used to say trial by judge alone for gun cases, and it was so that things would act speedier. That wasn't the case, and then there was a constitutional challenge with Hines. And what they said was that the original idea of Parliament when the Gun Court Act was passed was to have speedy trials, and that was used as the justification for refusing bail. And there is now no speedy trials, and prisoners are left to languish in custody. That's one of the biggest things, is that when somebody's cloaked in the presumption of innocence, um, languishing in prison. Yes, my favorite PLO. I am perfect. I'm all right. You don't see me. You don't see what color I'm wearing. Or you're gonna ask if I'm all right. You're blind? Huh? You see what going on right there, so Ivy Park and all. Anyway, let me stop that. Yeah. So the idea of just having persons languish in prison, finding themselves in la la land, no man's land, the lacuna in the law, which when somebody is supposed to not be in prison, you're just sitting in prison because the country don't get them affairs in order. Not the judiciary, the parliamentarians don't get them affairs in order. They're so fixated on punishment. I'm telling you, they're fixated on punishing people and taking away your life for the rest of your life, that they don't contemplate situations where you're actually not guilty, you're actually innocent, or how to deal with situations where they make mistakes or are the authors of unfortunate events in a trial. There's simple things like that. Any contribution will suffice. So the Privy Council shares this sentiment, as the Lords have found that the delays certain offenders have encountered are in fact unreasonable. A simple question to be asked is this: why then is trial by jury being circumvented if the trials are not actually speedy? And considering the historical significance of such a legal convention, it should not be easily interfered with by the legislator. Former United States Supreme Court Justice Byron White stated that a right to jury trial was granted in order to provide ordinary persons, listen to this, with an inestimable safeguard against the corrupt or overzealous prosecutor and against the complaint biased or eccentric judge. I'm going to read that again. Justice Byron said that the right to trial by jury was granted in order to provide ordinary persons with an inestimable safeguard against the corrupt or overzealous prosecutor and against the complaint of biased or eccentric judge. So given the imminent threat of abolition of trial by jury in Jamaica, it is necessary to examine the advantages and disadvantages of trial by jury inherited from our colonial masters in order to appreciate the context. May I use context from long time, In 2010, reforms were introduced and analyzed whether these reforms were an appropriate response within the Jamaica socio-political context. Because context matters, right? Right? Context matters. All right, so what are the advantages? Well, Lord Devlin says juries represent the common public and therefore are more likely to judge in line with generally accepted values, culture, and morals of society. People have confidence in the impartiality and perceived fairness of a jury trial, as there are many persons from different backgrounds. Thus, the individual prejudices and biases are likely to be suppressed by the moral of collective. A single judge as well as the jury can fall prey to social, political, and other biases But with the jury system, the citizen has additional protection. Jurors have no connection with anyone in the case and are likely to be impartial. One cannot deny that it is more difficult to corrupt 12 jurors as opposed to one judge. Additionally, where a judge can be viewed as hardened and cynical, resulting from years of experience, jurors bring to the trial a fresh look. They only sit for 2 weeks and are unlikely to try more than 3 or 4 cases in that time. So another advantage is that of jury equity. Jurors are not legal experts, nor are they bound to follow the precedent of past cases or even acts of parliament. There is no requirement that reasons have to be given for their verdict, so that allows a possibility for them to decide cases on what they conceptualize as fairness. The openness of the jury and its public nature allows for clarity in the laws, as points have to be explained to the jury. Rosemary Bell, another constitutional expert in the Caribbean, says trial by jury is characterized of such a society is a characteristic of such a society in the Commonwealth Caribbean, where the complaint that the citizen is not part of the decision-making process is often raised. So the jury system plays as an even more important role. It helps to inculcate a desirable participatory culture in the society, and problems of a passive type of democracy where individuals are merely governed and are alienated from decision-making process, often thought to be a hangover. Whereupon deciding on the verdict, they are free from pressure in their discussions and are protected from external influences, as secrecy of the jury room is a key feature of jury deliberations. However, no system can exist without its disadvantages on the jury system. So here's the problem now, and I want you to listen. In the advent of social media, where all of these bloggers can get information. I can tell you cases, Donnelly case. I can't remember the man name. The man will never get bail this week. The PNP man. And the Collymore case, the Beaches South case, the Russian case, the cartel case. All of these cases get all kinds of social media coverage from persons who are not necessarily experts, who get a hold of information and put it out and skew it as they like. Their followers hear it, people hear it, and what happens is it's pasted in their minds and embedded in their brains a particular thought that they have. Okay, see, somebody said Joel and Silvera. Yeah. Remember, no matter what the facts of cases are, if the Constitution is to have any weight, somebody is cloaked in the presumption of innocence. And just like the SSL lady, they didn't give her a bail because of public outcry. A consideration, in my view, that probably isn't the best consideration, but the judge has the wisdom to know that at that point, with the way the public is behaving, they might have to keep you for your safety. So a denial of bail in that situation is because of how the public is behaving. But lo and behold, sometime down the year, they're going to have to choose 7 people from the same public. Now, what if the people who were standing on the sidewalk for the Silvera case saying no bail, and they must get bail, is put into the jury pool? Then where would the idea and concept of fair trial come into it? These are things that we have to understand in the age of technology. So some of the biggest challenges that the jury collectively are not knowledgeable about the law, nor do they possess any special skills in judging cases. The next thing is that a jury may be influenced by the cultural prejudices which currently exist in the society, which are not supported by law. Right now, the worst thing a man can do is put him hand on his wife. You're never to do it unless you're in the bedroom and you turn on the music and she look upon you and say, "You're too bad." And then, and she say, yeah, and you probably, yeah, you get what I'm saying. But you're not supposed to put your hand on your wife unless it's in a sensual, romantic way. And it is by consent that if any force is used, it was requested by the person. But in this culture, the minute that a wife dies and the husband is involved, then there's an assumption that the husband is guilty. And Auntie Eve says consent is key. And you're so right. Last week I showed the thing about the kissing of the football player. One was consent and one wasn't. And consent is always key. Uh, Janet says, yes, and dim the lights. No, a G angel said that, you must know. Anyway, so the next thing is, although jurors have no direct interest in a case, they may still have prejudices which can affect the verdict, notwithstanding the fact that there are 12 of them. Some jurors may be biased against the police. Some juror may be biased against the defendant. Implicit bias may wear his head. Can you imagine being a dancehall artist and everybody they pick on the jury room love Mavada and Alkali and Massacre and Skilly Bang and everybody other than you, and they don't want you to come to road and they don't want this and that? Could you get a fair trial? One wonders. I don't know. I'm not just saying. Or can you imagine because you went to JC and then all the jury come in and everybody's from KC and Calabar or the sister schools respectively, and they know because you're a prominent athlete or soccer player, football player, you just never know. So a major disadvantage is that of jury nobbling. This is the actual or attempted influence of one or more jury members through intimidation or inducement, which does occur, and there are cases where jurors have had to be provided with police protection. It has also been argued that the use of jurors make trials slow and expensive as each point has to be explained carefully to the jury and the whole procedure of the case takes longer, like for instance 64 days. Finally, an important disadvantage is to note is what is called a perverse decision, where the jury can ignore what they believe is an unjust law. However, this may be seen as perverse and not justified. So juries have refused to convict in other clear-cut cases, such as R and Samuels, now where the defendant was charged with marrying a Canadian woman while he was still married. It is alleged that Samuels used his marriage to his second wife to obtain permanent residence in Canada. Notwithstanding the overwhelming evidence presented by the prosecution, jury with a composition of 4 men and 3 women, after deliberating, unanimously handed down a not guilty verdict on each of the 4 charges, possibly as a protest over what was said to be a vengeance plot. So the judge in the Samuels case, and I'm going to say his name, expressed his outrage for the perverse verdict, described the ruling as a disgraceful verdict. He remarked that no wonder we don't have any justice in this country, and ordered a probe to ascertain if the jurors were reached. I wonder if they were reached, and I so order an investigation. I really wonder if they were reached. So the good justice went on to inform the jurors that they would not be required to do any more jury duty during the present sitting of the Westmoreland Circuit, and said, I am releasing all 7 of you for the rest of the term. You can go and never return here. All 7. Uno are wicked. And then he says, it is my wish not to see all of you for the rest of the term. It is respectfully submitted by me now that the judge has displayed bias and lack of respect for the jury system, where any verdict rendered ought to be respected, even in a case where he does not agree with it. But one can know in hindsight and with knowledge of the law, look and say, it's really, 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 really a waste or this unfortunate that in the face of the law, the juries really can just do whatever. For instance, people can just look by you and you have that one woman will come and she go to church and say, my spirit, now take him. You see him push up his mouth, watch him, watch him, watch him. Watch him boot lean. He never try to go gym and carry himself good. Me no like the lawyer there. Not guilty, not guilty. Me no care. Or vice versa. They use things outside of the facts. So, despite its shortcoming, though, it has been, as stated in Ward James, the bulwark of our liberties, too long for any of us to seek or to alter it. So when one or other party must be deliberately lying, trial by jury has no equal. Trial by jury is more than one wheels of the Constitution. It is the lamp that shows that freedom lives. Trial by jury is the lamp that shows that freedom lives. And the Constitution is the only flicker of light that shows a man that he's a human being and shows a man that freedom is so sacred and important. It is the only evidence of sovereignty, of independence, and of respect for human dignity. That's what these things are. And a participation of that, one of the ideas of being human is doing jury duty and doing it without being biased, because the purpose of this conversation is speaking about biases, where biases being developed from things that we see in the social space. Can you imagine somebody losing their trial because they dislike me, or winning their trial only because people like me? That's the lawyer per se. Can you imagine not having the jury nonetheless? And why it is to always do good and always treat people good and behave with kindness? Because I'm going to tell you this: of all things in every nation, the strongest thing that anybody can have is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the only tool that can restart, rekindle, recreate um, a new, as in you wipe the slate clean and start anew. But it includes forgiving yourself and forgiving others. And so a justice system that is a forgiving system is a system that will work. How long should a person wait for a document from the court? That's, I don't know which court you're talking about. I don't know the court system to be able to answer that. Somebody said forgiveness is bias. Well, forgiveness is not implicit bias, though. It's explicit bias. And so you know from the get-go that there is forgiveness. So what I want to definitely get at, though, is that we have to look at the fact that the Constitution says that you have a right to a fair trial within a reasonable time with a fair and impartial, jury of your peers. That is. So when we look at those things, we say, all right, you be the judge. You now know your duty. You know, and I know that bias is something that plagues us. You and I know, and you and I appreciate that it may very well cause people to not do what they're supposed to do. We know this as a fact. And we appreciate it. We know it. We appreciate it. Um, and so one wonders, when called on for jury duty, the importance of showing up is what will make the difference. Do not be intimidated. Do not be discouraged. Do not listen to the noise. Because you see, what happens on the internet and what happens in the court of public opinion, when you get into the courtroom, you are the judge. In fact, I think when you get jury duty, when you get the paper, you for call down at the court and say, "Me need enough for buy me suit and think me come judge. I'm want one of them robe there. Me feel say them forget all the jurors the robes like the judges. Once them call you for jury duty, you forget your robe and your tab, and just for the time, you sit down and you be the judge, and you feel the power that you have. and the importance of the decisions that you make, so that you know that the decision must be made with mature consideration and with the Constitution in mind. So that when a judge says to you and the prosecutor must prove beyond a reasonable doubt, you not just say, oh, beyond a reasonable doubt, like it's a fanciful thing. You feel the importance and the seriousness of what you go there to do. So that if you're on a jury and somebody come and say, Maga give $500,000 and you let my people go, you just said, Judge, you know, said that man there give me 500,000 for let them people go. You know, some could have use it, but me not take it, you know, because I have integrity. And you see this a black gown here where you give me, I just feel so erudite tonight. I just tell them, move up with your $500,000 car. If you did put a little more upon it, then we could have did talk, but that never did happen. Or something of words to that effect. I don't know. But you would respect the office and you would talk up and you would listen to the oath and you do everything. And notwithstanding, let me tell you something, you know, one must never condone any slackness in any form unless it's in the bedroom, because that's where the slackness takes place. But if it's not in the bedroom, you're not supposed to condone it. You're not supposed to condone disrespect. um Amazing Grace says 6 years now and still no pay from being a jury, and me put in the work and them never pay me and me now go back. But these are issues that I'm telling you that maybe it is the person responsible for you to get pay and putting things in place. You must ask yourself, when you exercise your right to vote, did you do what you were supposed to do to make sure that person was no longer in power because they're derelict of their duties since you haven't been paid? These are things that we're not supposed to be taking lightly, you know. So all things are connected and all things must work so that people understand. This is not about feelings and emotions, you know. If you want feelings and emotions, go a back road. If you want feelings and emotions, get married. If you want feelings and emotions, go up on YouTube and play some love songs. If you want feelings and emotions, there are websites for that. When it comes to the law and when it comes to people's lives, we don't take it for granted. And I have no objection to all the people who are social media influencers and bloggers who have to make their money in front of the camera. And I promise you, I'm not one of them. I'm sharing knowledge because I want people to know that context literally matters. But I have no objections. And I will say it again. All of the people who making money from selling fairy tale and misinformation and is entertaining the people, at least you're contributing to the entertainment. You're just as relevant as Kevin Hart, the biggest comedian alive right now. So keep doing your thing. I'm encouraging you. I'm encouraging you to say, yeah, I saw an office burned down. Him is an idiot because he never saved him files and this is 2024. And if it makes you money to make a mockery of serious events, go ahead. But there are people with real lives. These are the days of our lives, you know. It's not sun through the hourglass and NCB or NBC, whichever one is the actual network. They're not actually writing the scripts. These are people's lives, and Jamaica obviously is not a real place when it comes to how we skew the public and make them become degenerate by misinformation. When the things of importance, we don't use our platform to educate the people. No, I'm saying to you, you have a duty to your country to participate in the jury system. And as you participate in the jury system, to do so with integrity and probity and equity. You don't need to be a lawyer to be held at that standard. To have unquestionable character, you don't need to be a lawyer to be held at that standard. These things are self-check. It is absent of nepotism and inner workings that's very incestuous. Because I tell you, you know, when it comes to people who protect their select selves like they're in the lodge and they're in fraternities and they're in, if you even want to say professions, and they choose the people to protect, even when they're doing wrong, in the face of the public who feels I'm just a little man. Know that you matter. Know that you are important to the point that your importance could not be undermined by the people who serve you. Even if you don't live nowhere, even if you don't own nowhere, even if you have a bigger money here and there, even if you are work and it can't pay the bills, you still matter and you still have importance and nobody no more than you. And so for those reasons, once you cloak yourself with respect for the Constitution, respect for self, respect for when a man is cloaked in the presumptions of innocence, you give him the benefit of the doubt. And you say, let me participate in the inquest to investigate what is before us and put to task those who are being paid. So when them people that show up with them diary, where them says them diary and them book and them suit that don't fit them properly, and them say them need more time, because they're overwhelmed with work, because they're underpaid. You see why it's important that the people who are on the ground is paid properly so they will do the work, so that the investigation is not shortcut, chain, breach of chain of custody. All of these things are important. And we must be able to um, articulate that to our one another. And so everything goes together, because you as a juror is a judge of the facts. The best way to practice to be judges of the facts is how you treat your politicians. So when they tell you you can sleep with your windows and doors open and you cannot do it, it's because they lie to you. When they tell you that you are experiencing prosperity and you're suffering, they lie to you. When they tell you that you're going to have a better opportunity, they tell you that you're going to have a better opportunity with life, they lie to you. All of these things are important to realizing when people lie to you. And if people lie to you, they must be held accountable for the lies that they told. These lies are not fanciful, and these are your moments when you take your practice to critically assess through your critical thinking skills that you learn right here on Context Matters. Use them. Use those skills. And when you use those skills will show you that as I am a juror and my fellow citizens are jury, when the verdict is in, the verdict is the vote. When the verdict is in, we know what we want. Is it the CCJ? Are we having the conversations at the water fountains, in the KFCs, at the bus stops, at the restaurants, at the domino table, at the Ludi table, at the Context Matters, at the Partner Draw TVs, at the Reasoning with Rattigan, Wayne Lonesome, all of them. Jeffrey Tavares, Carlos, I can call them. Are we having these conversations? Are we saying the verdict is in? Are we protesting to protest, or are we saying that we need to weed out corruption? We need to hold people accountable. We must know, when they're making their changes to the Constitution, have they preserved the Charter, which cannot be any stronger than it is right now? And any change that is going to come from the Charter, it must be greater, because if it is less, then they lied and you were robbed. Are we having these conversations? Because I can tell you right now, every day I use the Constitution and nothing works greater. So a man with all his money, and if he's in government, he can be cut down like a peasant if he breaches the Constitution. Do you know that? Do you appreciate that? So when they're saying they're tinkering with a document that gives you so much protection, that is responsible for your human dignity and your self-worth, an obligation that society has to give to you even when you don't believe that you're worth anything. Is that something that we should just leave willy-nilly? So when your opposition leader said, no, don't sign nothing till we know what's going on, None of face to the important things that give effect to a release from our colonial masters, if you so believe. And will people be upset because you, who is being a juror, says, I want to stay with the Privy Council because I like what they did in the cartel matter. I like what they did for other people. I like that when they went all the way to the Privy Council, justice was given to them. Lacine Edwards received justice. Ray Morgan received justice. This is all within a short space of time. So if you ask me, does the Privy Council work for poor people? It does. Does it mean the CCJ won't? I would never say that because I seen it work for poor people as well. I seen it work for poor gay people. So if one wonders, when it comes to the law, we don't deal with emotions. We deal with what is best for the interests of the people. And if the interest of the people is not being served for some ceremonial, fanciful thing that benefits the wrong people, we don't want it. But you are the judges of that, and that would be my submissions on the importance of being a juror, the court of public opinion, and the serious issue of constitutional reform taking place in Jamaica. A serious disagreement between the opposition and the ruling government. Is the government getting it right? That's a matter for you. Is the prosecution, is hear me say prosecution, is the opposition, because the opposition prosecuting the government right now by them refusal, holding them accountable. The opposition doing them work so well. I'd step out in my orange today. I'm proud. But anyway, yeah, that's that. It's a matter for you. I invite you to rewatch this. I invite you to send me messages. I invite you. I would take a call, but it's only 10 minutes. Unless somebody needs to call me, you're free to call me. I'll answer and see what happens. But yeah, those are my submissions. So in the end, my people on Reggae Global Radio, TikTok, YouTube, in the end, what we have certainly and for sure is the need to ensure that we take nothing for granted, that we do not allow our fellow citizens to oppress us. We do not allow our fellow citizens who have taken on the role as our public servants to abuse us. We should not partake into the discourse of breaching persons' constitutional rights for our own entertainment. We should refrain from misjudging people in breach of the Constitution. And there is something called the horizontal application. And it's time that maybe, while under the guidance of a Justice Sykes, our Chief Justice, that we begin to test the horizontal application of the Constitution. A breach of your constitutional rights by your fellow citizen who in their exercise of freedom of expression puts out misinformation that is detrimental to your children, your siblings, your loved ones, your existence, for mere entertainment with no consequence. Maybe it is time that we have that conversation. It is important. It is significant. It is necessary. And so, what is left to consider, certainly, is whether or not the idea of fair trial can, in high profile cases, let me say it that way, be attained. Because I've seen verdicts that I'm not sure if it accord with the evidence. but the right to trial by jury when chosen by a defendant or an accused person. You Whatever the decision is, it must be respected. And in the absence of an appeal that quashes that conviction, that verdict stands. But proper public education is what is necessary to allow persons to appreciate the magnitude of the decisions that they make, and that we don't do it from a place of bias. And we will have a conversation about what is bias, because we are a biased set of people when we're ready. But should that be allowed to stand is a matter for you. You be the judge. Are we okay with the way the constitutional committee and the government is going about the constitutional changes? Is that something that we need right now? Do we need constitutional change? Do we need to change our court when someone don't even have water? When they don't even brushing the teeth this morning. When they don't even bathe. Someone want a little water for drink. But somehow when the thing gonna need to change, when it's a make a difference if when they change the monarchy, someone who don't even have a passport for even say when I gotta look a visa for go elsewhere. Cause life is so hard. Shouldn't the government be focused on improving the lives of the people and worried about um superficial changes? I don't know. Are people so feeling the effects of white supremacy that they need to remove themselves? Do we need to become a republic and decide that we're not going to participate in the Commonwealth Games when that should arise? These are questions that we might want to answer. Um, yeah, what I will say in closing, somebody said somebody said power outage. What I will say in closing, as I take my leave, some places don't prosecute murder cases without an actual body. So the fact that they are doing so, well, that's even that. When somebody don't have food and they don't have water and they don't have jobs and they don't have independence and they don't have the ability to transcend the basic needs in the Maslow's laws of hierarchy, how can they function as with human dignity and participate in governance as they should, as the voting and the electorate? People have to ask themselves these questions and and deal with it accordingly. So what I will do is invite everybody to rewatch and look at especially the discussion of the Marshall Burnett case. It's so important in my mind. I think it's important. So I could be wrong, but I'm inviting you to rewatch, listen to the constitutional points, listen, appreciate that. As Mark Golding says, you don't need a referendum if you want to remove the Privy Council. Make it mandatory that all persons come to Parliament and they have the 2/3 majority and deal with it. But it must also be a decision, consultation with the people. Do we want to leave? Do we want to leave the Privy Council? Do we actually want to leave the Privy Council? If the answer to that is no, then that question is resolved and answered quicker than one could imagine. And so, for me, I just feel that understanding for yourself. Go to the Charter, Section 49, Section 110. Read them about entrenchment. Read them about removal. Read up about the CCJ. Look who the judges are. Look how all of them look good. One thing about the CCJ, that them stay like me. We not like ugly people. Anyway, I know. And by the way, Miss World is going on. Shout out to the women who are of superior age and look nice in the bathing suit, notwithstanding. Yeah, that is of importance. But that was the show. Context Matters. For those on Reggae Global Radio. See you guys next week. It was a very interesting show. I talk. You must know that I really love this topic. It's the law. It involves you. You matter. Context matters. We matter. Black life matter. Our life matter. Matter. Take the matter out of AI before you worry about it. One thing I can tell you though, that AstraZeneca thing, weak response. So take it easy till I see you guys next week on Context Matters, where we'll be wearing and talking about more issues with higher intellect later. Yeah, and to my people on YouTube, you know what it is. See me when you see me.
It took some time to understand. Yeah. Just what it takes to be a man. Now it seems each day you learn something to make a better way. Growing up ain't just a phase, it's reality. And sometimes it's hard to face the world with your head screwed on. But in time you will see it comes naturally, like the hurt and the pain. It's a part of the game. It's all a part of life, to laugh and to cry. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. You know I heard them say life much better you live it your own way. But if you need a helping hand, just call on me, I will be your friend. And when it gets hard to face the world with your head screwed on, just tell yourself you can. And that's when you'll understand that the hurt and the pain, it's a part of the game. It's all a part of life, to laugh and to cry. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. You gotta keep on moving on. Don't let no one stand in your way. Gotta keep on pressing on. As we pray for better days, keep it moving to the next. When they try to bring you down, we gotta take it to the next level when they come around. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. Just keep your head up, yeah. Just keep your head up, yeah. Gotta keep your head up, yeah. Cause everything's gonna be alright.
Keep your head up. Keep your head up. Keep your head up.
Cause everything's gonna be alright.
Cause everything's gonna be alright.